A massive thanks to MPB for sponsoring today's video.
So today we're heading up a Wainwright called Heron Pike, and I want to really try and make a concerted effort to use my wide angle lens. Oh, this first section's so steep, man. I'd forgotten. Now, when I say I want to make a concerted effort to use my wide angle lens, I really mean that, and that's because my lovely little Nikon 14 to 30mm lens, I love it, and I just don't use it anywhere near as much as I used to, and I think that's honestly simply just because I've evolved a lot as a landscape photographer. I really like mid-range, you know, I love my 24 to 200mm lens, and I love sort of mid-range to telephoto, so I don't know really, I guess anywhere between 70mm and 200mm on my Nikon Z7. And yeah, I find that I go through stages or the same cycle as a landscape photographer, where I might be editing a photograph or I might be out and about, and it just dawns on me, it's like, man, I really don't use my wide angle lens anywhere near as much as I used to. And then I get this surge of like inspiration of like, oh, I really want to try and go out and use my wide angle lens. So like I said, that's exactly what I'm doing today up Heron Pike, which starts down near Rydal Hall, where I've parked the car, and it should just be like a short little walk up, and the weather conditions are quite interesting actually. If you look, there's areas of kind of low-hanging mist. I thought it was just going to be a day that was pure claggy, you know, but we're even getting little sections of blue sky and bright sections and stuff, so yeah, it should be quite interesting. Wow, wow, look at this. Genuinely 10 minutes from the car. Ooh, albeit very steep, so we've gained quite a lot of elevation very quickly, but look at that already. Back down, well, into Ambleside and the northern end of Windermere here, and then Loughrig Fell. That is just beautiful. What a treat. So I always think about this. I'm banging on about Wainwrights and the Lake District. Some of you might be new here. If you are, then welcome. And I've made it my goal to hike up 214 mountains here in the Lake District National Park in England, which are referred to as Wainwrights. And yeah, I'm doing them one by one. I think I'm on about 70 or something now, just taking my time, giving each fell or each mountain the recognition that I feel it deserves, and you know, try and get some photographs along the way. But yeah, today, like I said, it's my goal to try and use my wide angle lens a bit more. Look at these conditions, absolutely class. And actually, to those of you that watch me every week, I wanted to say a massive thank you for the reception that I received in last week's video and newsletter, where I mentioned that I've updated my prints page over on my website. I've had quite a lot of print orders, so thank you so much. It really helps to support what I do. And yeah, if you missed that, I'll leave a link down in the video description below where you can go and check out my prints. I've changed my whole system. They're a lot better value than they used to be, and I hope that you like them. And any purchases, as always, helps to keep me getting out here on these adventures. But yeah, cheers. Anyway, onwards with this adventure. What a start. I feel like this happens every single time I want to use my wide angle lens. It's almost like a rite of passage into this sort of adventure. I'm going to take an image with my telephoto lens. So yeah, really, really simple. As always, when I come out with my camera, I just love getting a photograph in the can to start off with, even if I don't think it's very good, which is exactly what's going on in this case. Yeah, I just feel like it sets me up for the adventure, and I've got that tricky first image out of the way. And all I'm doing really is taking a photograph of the view that we've been looking back to, that I just complimented. The only difference is I'm zooming in, I'm tightening the crop a little bit, so I'm only capturing what I want to capture, and that's kind of this big white sort of grand house or hotel, I suppose, looking back towards Ambleside. Windermere's in the frame a little bit, and then just some of these beautiful kind of low-hanging clouds, or this mist really, on this end of Loughrig Fell. or a bit further across, it's beautiful. And you could probably even tell, look how blue everything is. And I think that's something that I usually dislike. So I don't know how I'm going to post-process this photograph, but in terms of what I'm seeing here on the day, I might actually embrace that kind of blue colour. I might be talking a load of nonsense, and the photograph that you're seeing here has got no blue tones in it at all. But yeah, looking at it now, it's something that I quite like. And yeah, I've just stuck the camera in aperture priority, and it's probably a 16:9. When I'm in this area of the Lake District, this is like the Eastern Fells or some of the Central Fells, anywhere around this kind of, well, it's more in this direction, over this kind of hill here, but into the Grasmere and Rydal Valley, I always feel it's got such a charm to it. It's really calm and quiet, kind of like a real, I don't know, like English countryside sort of feel. You know, there's no big crags and grand mountains, or I'm hoping to get a bit of cragginess when we get up to Heron Pike. But yeah, generally, it's something that I try to embrace, you know, even if I'm capturing some of the buildings and stuff, I like that. Because to me, I don't know, without going off on too much of a tangent, I feel like that's what taking a photograph starts with, is like a little emotion, a tiny little spark of, oh, that looks quite nice. What is it that I like about that? And for me around here, yeah, it's always that kind of, that quaintness, you know. It's a really nice feel. So hopefully I can capture that in some of the photographs that I've taken today. But I do think that one was probably a little bit naff, to be honest. But, oh, onwards. This is steep, it's short, but even now it's still quite steep. Oh, there we go. With all of this frigging low-hanging mist everywhere, I must admit, I'm slowly starting to regret making a video about my wide-angle lens, because I just don't think at the minute it's a video for the wide-angle lens. But to be honest, that's going to bring me onto a really good point about wide-angle photography. And that is, and try and remember this if you're a beginner to landscape photography, is that wide-angle photography is, from my experience anyway, much more about foreground than it is about what's going off in the background. It's about finding things down by your feet to stick down in the foreground, to complement the big grand views. And that's where I went wrong at the start. Even after I'd purchased my first wide-angle lens, I remember it on my Nikon D7200, my first wide-angle lens was a Tokina 11-16, brilliant lens, and it served me perfectly well. But that photograph that I just took there, for example, I wouldn't have taken that with a telephoto lens, which blows my mind now. I'd have looked at it and instantly just been, wow, I best capture that view, get the wide angle lens out, straight to 11mm and capture all of that. Because I mean, it looks good, doesn't it? Look, as you're looking at it there, it looks beautiful. And then I would go through this cycle of getting my photograph home, the big wide angle photograph, and just thinking, oh, that's terrible. It doesn't capture any of the emotions that I was feeling when I was taking the photograph. And yeah, it's just that, using your wide angle lens often is a lot more about trying to create a real three-dimensional feel to your photograph. And I'm really hoping to try and display some examples of that today. And it's a type of photography that I absolutely love. And I'm also well aware that I'm banging on about how much I love it without actually doing it. So let's move on. Hopefully we can find something soon enough that will explain what I'm on about. And there we go, just like magic. Genuinely, 20 seconds after I just said I want to try and find something next, we've stumbled across this sort of scene here that I think is going to be ideal for us to work with the wide angle lens. Right, so here we go. I want to talk you through this composition that I'm going for here with just a tiny little bit more detail than usual to try and explain to you a couple of things what I mean about wide angle photography, and a couple of things that are quite important as well actually. So first off, I'll just try and show you my composition. So I'm going for, something along those lines. I'll show you there, look to the right hand side. It's a shame we can't get that little tiny bit of Windermere in, but I've just tried to forget about it instead of trying to, move over here. Because what's really important here is this section. Just look at the top of the style. There's three things. Firstly, I want there to be a gap between that stick and that stick. That's really important. I don't want them to touch each other like that. And then secondly, as you can probably guess, it's important that I don't have any of them posts hitting into the trees, if that makes sense. So look at the little gaps there between the post and the tree, and there between the post and the tree. I don't want to be like that into that larch tree. I don't want to be like that into the other tree there. Do you know what I mean? I want everything to fit nicely in between. And then everything else just works really, really well. I'll focus on the style, probably around about there. And that is the final photograph. And I think it works pretty well. You know, it's not an award-winning photograph or anything, but what I do like about it is it, I think, gets a really good point across about one really important way that I look at wide-angle photography. And that is that it's almost like you're taking two photographs in one go, which relates really well to what I was saying before. You're almost trying to deliberately create a bit of a three-dimensional feel. So there's an extra dimension to your photograph in the foreground. Again, try and remember this. Wide-angle photography is just as much about the foreground than it is about the background, if not more so. And yeah, it's like splitting a photograph into two parts. And I think there's another side to this where sometimes you can try and force a composition with the wide-angle lens. You don't always need to, you know. In fact, the first photographs that I got looking back towards the fog is, you know, it's a very two-dimensional image. It's just one photograph, if that makes sense. Whereas the one with the style, you've got, you know, the foreground and the background marrying together quite well. And wide-angle photography is absolutely not about being able to have a big wide angle to photograph a big wide view. The purpose, I mean, this is just me saying this, you can do whatever you friggin' want with your wide angle lens, but if you want to try and improve your wide angle composition, the purpose is to try and marry a background, maybe a midground as well, and a foreground all together into a three-dimensional image. Oh, wow, man. These conditions are absolutely fantastic. You know what? I wasn't expecting this at all. It wasn't in the forecast. The forecast was for it to just be really heavy clouds. You know, one of those just rubbish overcast days, basically. And that's what prompted me to think, I'll talk about my wide angle lens, apart from me the other day saying that I just realised I hadn't used it in ages. I thought this is a great opportunity to, yeah, try and make them real 3D photographs, because when you haven't got light, you haven't got dramatic conditions, you have to focus so much more on composition. Try and get really strong compositions, and I feel like the wide angle lens is a great way to be able to do that. But oh man, whew, even with the telephoto lens on a day like this, or like I was saying before, more so with a telephoto lens, this is absolutely class. But there's always a but. I'm concerned that we're going to be up in the clag when we get up to Heron Pike and we're not going to have any views, but as always, that all remains to be seen. So like I mentioned at the start of today's adventure, this video is sponsored by MPB, and I wanted to say another massive thank you to them for sponsoring this video and to tell you a little bit about them. Now, if you haven't heard of MPB, it is a platform that you can use to buy or sell used photography or videography equipment. And in terms of buying from them, it's fantastic. They've got really competitive prices. They've got a beautiful website. And in fact, all of the photographs that you see of the gear on that website are of the actual piece of gear, the actual lens or the actual camera, whatever it is, rather than just being stock photographs, really nice high definition images, so you can have a good look at the exact piece of gear that you're buying, a bit of peace of mind. On top of that, in terms of buying, you get a 6-month warranty with every piece of gear that you buy. So again, even more peace of mind when you're buying used. Now for me, where MPB are even better, and I've used this service myself loads, is in selling to them. So if you've got gear lying around the house just gathering dust, you can go on to MPB and type in the name of the gear or the selection of gear that you're looking to sell, and they will give you an instant quote. And if you're happy with the price that you get, it gets even better. All you've got to do is box the gear up and then print out a label, stick it on the box, or just write on the box if you haven't got a printer or anything, and they will pay for a courier to come to your address at a date of your choosing. So they just make the whole process so easy, so seamless. And then of course you can get that money, buy new gear, you can trade gear on there so you don't have to mess about, or you can take the money and go on a photography trip, whatever you want. But yeah, all in all, it's an absolute pleasure to collaborate with a company that I've genuinely used myself for years, since before I was sponsored by them. And thus it is so easy for me to recommend them to you. They are absolutely class. So definitely go and check them out. I'll leave a link down in the video description below. And if you do sell any gear or buy any gear, please make sure to use that link, because it lets them know that it's me that sent you, and it helps me out a little bit and stuff, you know. But yeah, they come highly recommended from me, and another massive thank you to them for supporting what I do. Right, so I reckon, I don't know, we're probably about halfway now, and this is just absolutely beautiful. I'm really enjoying this. I'm enjoying these atmospheric conditions. Like I said before, that was so unexpected. And soon enough, we're going over a little section now called Nab Scar. And Wainwright says in the guide, I think he says it's quite craggy. There's a little bit of a gully up there and stuff. So hopefully we can get more of them like foreground, interesting foreground areas, maybe some rocks, some of the crags that we can use. I'm gonna stop and have a bit of lunch. In fact, let me show you my meal deal. Here we go, here we go. Oh, terrible as always. McCoy's flame grilled steak crisps, and well, a bottle of water there in the pocket, and tuna mayo sandwich. Shop bought stuff, but with these views, it'll do the job. I was in a little bit of a rush to get here this afternoon, to be honest. Oh, there we go. The meal deal has been devoured. I just did a bit of a live stream actually on YouTube, which is a bit confusing, but this video is being made about a week in advance or something. But yeah, if you want to see when I do the live streams, I think if you subscribe to the channel, you'll get a little notification whenever I do it. Whoa! Oh, how cool is that? That's well smart, isn't it? Wow, so atmospheric. So yeah, as I've been sitting and eating, I'll just spin you around a little bit. All these clags kind of like come in, so a little bit worrying, but views like that back down to Rydal Water, very reassuring. So I'm going to continue on up and just see what comes our way. Oh, freaking hell, I've come all of about 40 seconds. I just thought to myself, I'm talking a lot, so I'll make a bit of progress. And then look at this, the freaking sun's come out. Oh, look at these on the floor. Isn't that amazing? How the light's like shining through those. As to whether or not there's a photograph, I don't know. Oh, so I'm just gonna make my way up here, try and get to a spot where I can try and do something with this light. Oh, do you ever find this really heartbreaking? Oh man, where the light is just beautiful, objectively beautiful. If that's even a thing. It's an oxymoron, isn't it? But you know what I mean. Oh wow. Let me spin you around here. Oh, look at that. Oh wow. But yeah, it's just so heartbreaking when there's no freaking photograph. Here, look. Let's try something here with the wide angle lens. Look at this. Foreground, mid-ground, kind of a background. So I certainly won't be faffing with the tripod. We've already got the wide angle lens on, you little beauty. See what we can get. It's gone. Friggin' light's gone. Friggin' light's gone. And we can't see Rydal Water down. Oh gosh, I hate it, man. I hate it. Oh, love and hate. It's love and hate, isn't it? Like that's what I love about landscape photography. I mean, look, it's live as I'm talking now. Love and hate. Now I love it because the friggin' lake, Rydal Water's just come back into view and we're getting the light back again. It's madness. Right, let me show you what I was thinking in this moment of panic. Bearing in mind, wow, I haven't got that much choice. Look, simply just something like that. It's because it's on a video, it's cropping it a little bit on the left and right, so it won't be a big narrow thing like that. But right, I'm getting it off video because I need to get the shot. Come on, don't mess about. F11, that looks class. You little stunner. You little stunner. I love it. I don't hate it. Oh, wowzers. This is so, isn't it so much better when it's so unexpected like this? I mean, it's not great. My only reservation is the foreground's a bit naff. It's just a rock down in the foreground that I've shoved there in a kind of moment of panic. But at least for me, it's showing we're on the edge of a cliff, we're looking down at Rydal Water, and we've got some really nice, beautiful atmospheric light. It's the best I can do. And again, it's that kind of thing, isn't it? Where you're almost taking two photographs, you're creating like depth, you're creating a lot of depth in the photograph, you know, right from my feet where the rocks are, right up back, you know, past Loughrig Fell, right off in the distance, up to them clouds is obviously miles and miles and miles away. Whereas this photograph from before, again, it's two-dimensional, there's no depth, it's just a few trees and a little bit of fog, some low-hanging mist or whatever. And that is the beauty of the wide-angle lens, creating that depth and creating those stories and getting that kind of three-dimensional feel in your photographs. Wow, frightens the life out of me, that, honestly. So you can probably see there off in the background, that kind of lump up there, up into the clag, that's Heron Pike, a little bit further across. So at the minute it's looking like we're going to be getting up into the clag. But I've just spent a bit of time here shooting back across Grasmere, actually, the village, back to Helm Crag. So a lot of you might recognise this photograph, which is, I took it years ago, it's still one of my favourite photographs. I've got such fond memories of being up on Helm Crag, photographing what is famously known in this area as the Lion and the Lamb, and that's what the image is called. And hopefully you can see the lion and the lamb in that photograph as you're looking at it. But anyway, my point is that I've been taking a few images with the telephoto lens back over to the Lion and the Lamb, and that's the image that I got. Might be a black and white, or even if it's colour, there's going to be barely any colour in it. But yeah, nice to have a different perspective of the Lion and the Lamb, or Helm Crag as that fell is called, which is also a Wainwright. And it was just lovely as all of this kind of, this clag, I mean, it's doing it now, look at the beautiful peaks back that way. Yeah, just as the kind of tops of the mountains reveal themselves and then conceal behind some of the clouds again. And you could, you know, it's one of them, you could just stand there all day. Whoa, nearly went for a little trip then. But yeah, hopefully quite nice. And let's get up. Looks cool, to be fair, doesn't it? Even in all the clag. Let's continue on up to Heron Pike. I think it's my 72nd Wainwright. And yeah, let's see if we get any views from the top. If not, we'll keep the eyes peeled. Try and get another shot with the wide angle, actually, if we can. Oh, so yeah, we're in the clag and it's only getting more claggy the further up we go. See this little kind of puddle there? Can't even call it a tarn really, can we? Little puddle. It just made me think of another photograph from the past that I really like. This image, which for me kind of encapsulates perfectly everything that I've been talking about today in reference to wide angle photography. We had the Langdale Pikes off in the background, a little bit of Pike of Blisco, I think, on the left hand side. I'm trying to picture this photograph in my head, and then the beautiful colours of the fell side of what is home fell, and then yeah, that kind of puddle as it runs through, just the atmosphere. It's one of my favourite photographs actually, and it's so simple, but it's that thing where we've created almost two photographs. You know, there's the fell side that we're on with the big puddle, and then the distant background of the crags of the Langdale Pikes and Pike Oblisco, and I think a bit of a kind of moody sky as well. And that's it. That's the kind of the approach to wide angle landscape photography that I love, that I would urge you to try if you haven't already. Think about that whole 3D thing in depth, you know. And again, wide angle photography for me is about foreground before it's about background, which again sounds mad, doesn't it? Now I actually took that photograph on a one-to-one workshop, and it brings me on to something I'm really excited to announce. Now I'll keep this very short because you can click a link in the video description if you want more information. But myself and my friend, fellow landscape photographer Ian Worth, running a springtime workshop here in the Lake District. It's going to be over 2 days, May the 1st to May the 2nd, and there's only 6 places. That is it. It's going to be a photography tour around the kind of central southern lakes, places that mean so much to me. We're hopefully going to get some beautiful photographs. Hopefully the bluebells and the wild garlic and stuff are going to be out as well. And of course, you know, just photographing that amazing spring vibrance. So I'd love to see some of you there. Again, there's only 6 places, so that's it. But yeah, I won't go on about it. There's a link down in the description. And again, really hope to see some of you there. So there we go. We are almost at the summit of Heron Pike. There we go, ladies and gents. Yes, another Wainwright in the can. And look at this, we're even getting, I mean, not much, clutching at straws, but we're getting some views. I tell you what, it looks brilliant, it looks really dramatic. Now, one thing that's really good, I suppose maybe for the future, is the next Wainwright along here, this ridge is called a Great Rig. Actually, rig means ridge in, I'm not sure if it's Old English or Old Norse, I never know the difference, not distance. If there's any Scandinavians watching, do you have a modern day word that is similar to rig that means like ridge? But anyway, it is a right ridge. But my point is that perhaps I can come back up the same way, hit Heron Pike, hopefully with some views, and then do Great Rig. You know, I don't mind doing that. I just don't want to do 2 new Wainwrights at the same time. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to head back down the same way because, well, we've got no views. And just another mention to, I've only just said it, haven't I, but my photography tours. I'd love to see some of you there, and my prints as well. You know, the photography tours, they're expensive. They're worth the money, but they're expensive, and I understand that. Whereas the prints, you know, they're really good value for what they are. Just terrible salesmen. If you want to go, if you want to go and check them out, go and have a look. But I appreciate it if you even go and have a look. And if anyone decides to purchase one, yeah, thank you very much. And I know I keep banging on about my calendar. I'd say this is like the last time I'm going to mention it now. Last chance to get one, because obviously, I mean, there's only a few left, but also it's going to be freaking 2025 soon. So they're going to be like out of date. But anyway, thanks to my Ko-fi members, thanks to all of you for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment down below. I'd love to hear from each and every one of you if you've got the time, and hit the thumbs up button as well if you've got a second. It really helps me out. And I'll see you on the next adventure. Out.